Evan cast a glance in the direction of the malicious man, whose eyes sometimes had lunacy, dancing to malevolent music which someone else had composed for him when he was an innocent boy. Chapter 2. Strange choice for a grown man. It transpired in the course of the following week that a car had been acquired as a means of transport to the Old Manor House in order to relieve the occupants of some of their antiquity, including excess silverware, old valuable paintings, and there had even been talk of a Fabergé egg. It was only talk though. Evan, who was by now an accomplice in the forthcoming job, was not at all happy with either the location of the night's work that lay ahead, or the idea of stealing from an elderly couple, especially a couple who was rumoured owned 2 guard dogs. He had spent the last 2 half-pints of lager proposing his alternative plan. My plans, he was going to say, a better plan, until he realised that he may inadvertently cause offence to at least one of his co-conspirators. So instead he settled on pointing out the advantages of going with his plan. My idea is a much safer proposal, because there's nobody there, unlike the manor house, which is classed as a dwelling household. So if by any chance we did happen to get caught at the warehouse, it would be a straightforward burglary charge, with no extra time added on for hurting people. Evan cast a glance in the direction of the malicious man, whose eyes sometimes had lunacy, dancing to malevolent music, which someone else had composed for him when he was an innocent boy. Evan continued with his alternative plan. Laptops and mobile phones are what we should go after. They are small, easy to carry, and even easier to get rid of, if you know the right person, which I do. He then showed them a copy of the previous night's newspaper, which was carrying an advertisement for a night watchman at a certain warehouse. Evan assured them that there was no security at the warehouse this forthcoming weekend, a factor which tipped the argument in his favour, and the 2 men elected to go with Evan's alternative plan. Evan felt pleased that he had persuaded his companions to change venues, as the thought of stealing from old people made him feel like a bum. And besides, after his recent nightmare, the very thought that the canine demons could become a reality filled Evan with an uneasy foreboding. That last dream was so vivid, he told himself. I feel as though it may have ominous undertones. Thankfully, the recollection of the canine violence was interrupted by his accomplices, who were now hitting out the rhythm of some music that was playing from a jukebox. One of them was tapping his beer glass with a coin, while the other one patted out the beat against the palm of his hand with the now rolled up newspaper. When the 8-bar riff got to the final beat, he would finish off on the head of the glass tapper. Evan could not help but think to himself what a hollow sound the head seemed to make when rapped from the newspaper. Being only momentarily amused by the antics of the 2 musicians, Evan's eyes scanned the room, hoping perhaps to find a more appealing form of entertainment to fill the afternoon with. He looked across the room at a shaft of sunlight that streamed in through a window. He watched dozens of dust particles dancing in the ray of sunlight, jitterbugging to the music, each one wearing a tiny dust jacket and matching trousers. Again, Evan found himself daydreaming of a way of escaping from the 2 people he was finding he had less and less in common with, people whose intellect now seemed to be on a level with that of the dancing dust particles. As the song on the jukebox came to an end, the carriage glided across its mechanism, bringing Evan's daydreaming to an end. His eyes continued their search for the elusive alternative entertainment, and found themselves coming to rest upon the face of a solitary drinker. The lone patron appeared comfortable within himself, at ease with his thoughts. He seemed somewhat out of place, though, in the establishment where he had found himself. His clothes didn't seem to fit in there either. Now, I'm not suggesting that the patrons of the public house were scruffy. I'm merely emphasising the fact that the clothes which the stranger was wearing were not really common attire for where he now was. The garment that the unfamiliar individual wore was large and loose-fitting, giving no indication as to its size or shape. Its colour seemed to shimmer and fluctuate between a coppery brown and a rustic red. It reminded Evan of the autumn leaves of old ligneus, the tree which he used to climb as a youngster. The fancy trousers which the stranger wore were again loose-fitting, covered with randomly placed zips and more than an adequate amount of pockets which could hold any number of knickknacks that he may feel the need to carry around with him. Strange choice for a grown man, thought Evan. Could have done with those when I was a boy. As he was examining the garments further, Evan realised that the wearer had noticed his scrutiny. He looked away, fearing he may cause offence, and wanted attention, or worse, a confrontation, on today of all days. The afternoon was moving on, and people were beginning to vacate the premises. Evan had finished his drink and was himself ready for leaving. Looking around, he noticed that even the solitary drinker had quietly slipped away. A circle of wetness on a polished tabletop remained as an indication that he had actually been there, along with a copy of the same newspaper that Evan had used to convince the others of his superior plan. Evan stood up as he was in need of the gents' toilets. He walked across the chat room and through the appropriately marked door. For a pub of such a size, it was rather a small room, containing only 2 urinals, 1 cubicle, a sink, a hand dryer, and a small wall mirror, which a disappointed customer had once punched and cracked. Thankfully for him, the room was empty, for he seemed to find difficulty in using a urinal if another one was being attended next to him. Having relieved himself of the afternoon's liquid refreshments, he started to fasten himself back up. He then became aware of the presence of another person in the room. It was the solitary drinker, the unexpected appearance of whom made Evan jump and hiss a swear word. He felt nervous and wondered how someone had managed to sneak into the room without making a noise with the door, which it usually made as it rubbed against the floor. Evan, who had vowed a long time ago to never be physically abused or attacked again by anybody, especially from behind, turned and confronted the stranger straight in the eyes. Kind eyes, though, without a trace of malice. Evan relaxed, knowing he was in no danger. He was still baffled, though, by the sniper-style evasiveness which the new arrival had used to get the drop on him. "I've been watching you for some time now," the stranger confessed to Evan, who was wondering why this new arrival felt the need to be watching him, especially in the privacy of the gentleman's. "I need to talk to you." Just then the door made its forsaken noise along the tiled floor, and Evan turned towards it. The taller one of his two friends was standing half in and half out of the room. "Ah, there you are," he said to Evan, scanning the washroom left to right and then back again. "Nobody here? Good." He lowered his voice anyway. "We're going now, so pick us up as agreed. 7 o'clock, yeah?" Was the only response which Evan could manage, astounded that the room was indeed empty. He faltered in his response. 7. Is that what we said? 7 it is, then. With that, the tall one left, wondering why Evan appeared to be so vacant. The fact that the washroom was unoccupied had left Evan's mind confused and as empty as the room itself. Alone was exactly what he was, for there was only one cubicle in which to hide, and with the door being wide open, he could see that there was nobody inside. It was as empty as his list of explanations as to how the Houdini toilet attendant had made good his escape. Evan's mind became a void, a wasteland where no thoughts wanted to exist for fear of being ridiculed. Gradually, words, ideas, and unrealistic explanations began to assemble in order to assist Evan with an explanation. Nothing seemed to be helping him confront the fact that someone, somehow, had disappeared in front of my eyes. What, through a wall? No way, absolutely not. And yet, where's he gone? And how did he manage to materialise in here in the first place? Thoughts dashed through the corridors of Evan's mind in a spiderous frenzy, none of them possessing any logic or reason. They blamed the beer. They accused drugs, to which Evan quickly pointed out that that particular vice held no appeal to him whatsoever. Maybe one of your friends has quietly slipped something into your drink for their own amusement, suggested his mind. Don't be stupid. We're working tonight. Why would either of them do that? He rallied back at the incredulous suggestion. Just trying to help, his mind assured him. It must be the beer. One drink too many. His mind tried to assist him with a further explanation. Nonsense, he said out loud again, knowing that 2 hours of lager and a sip of lemonade did not make a cocktail of hallucinations. Evan paused for a moment before he left the room, half expecting the stranger to appear again, perhaps through a secret passageway in the wall. He looked into the wall mirror at himself, feeling a little freaked out. The crack in the mirror distorted his image. His mind and his face now reflected the same representation. He took one last look into the empty cubicle and then turned to left, wondering whether to mention the incident to anybody.